But unfortunately, TV might not live to see another year.
God, if
We'll
they
go
listen,
dramatic.
if they keep listening to Twitter, yeah, everything's gonna get cancelled.
Yeah, so we've got some things to talk about. Initially, this was just what's killing film. And Hori probably knows why I came up with that topic. And then people decided to double down. So I was like, fuck it, we'll talk about everything. So, the reason it was originally called What's Killing Film was Borderlands came out on the 9th of August. It did not do particularly well.
Nope.
It's a shit show. It happens, not all films can be good. It sucks that it happened to a big IP of a big budget, but not all films can be good. The big problem is that they announced 4 or 5 days ago that on the 30th of August, a mere 21 days after it came out in theatre, that it would be going to online streaming and digital download.
Do we think that was always the plan?
I don't know. I think so.
I personally don't think it was going to go on that quick. I think it would have been maybe only a couple of weeks or so more. Like,
I just don't think you can make changes to a schedule like that easily.
I think you probably can.
This is the thing. This is just something we just don't know about that part of the world. I don't know how easy it is to all of a sudden go, we're putting it on streaming services.
Yeah, but it's going on digital release. That doesn't necessarily mean streaming services.
Yeah, no streaming services are going to pay for it.
It's more like, oh, you can now rent it on like Google Play Store or something, or Apple Movies.
Yeah, see, I think that's always been the plan.
Possibly, but I do think that sort of stuff is easy enough to be like, oh no, we're releasing it on this day now. Because it's just changing when it comes. But yeah, it's not a great look. It's quite clear that they're like, oh shit, now we need to try and recoup as much of, minimize the loss as much as possible. Hopefully, people will watch this at home rather than go to the cinema for it. Which I don't think people are really. Maybe some people probably will. They'll probably go, "Oh, I'll give it a shot."
So, and this is what I want to get into, because a lot of people will naturally have a similar reaction to you of, well, they're just trying to make a bit of money from it because it's done so poorly. But this doesn't help anyone. And don't take my word for it, because obviously I'm not in the industry. Matt Damon literally spoke on Hot Ones about this exact problem. He was like, back in the day when you were trying to get a film made, they'd say you'd get someone to give you 100 million to get your film made. 50 million of that's for the film, 50 million of that's for marketing. Cool.
Yep.
You only need to make a third of that at the cinema because you know that you'll make the rest of it on DVD sales.
Yes.
And he's like, so if you make all a third of your cost at the cinema, you weren't worried. Now, with DVDs not being a thing anymore, streaming services paying like shit, and going to or leaving the cinema so quickly, he said something like the expectation is now you've got to make between 50 and 80% of your money back at the cinema. When you consider how much budgets have crept up, you start to see the problem here. And then you have people going, oh, why don't they make all them weird rom-coms and action comedies and just them horse shit but brilliant films you'd love to see?
Yeah.
And it's because it's too big a risk now.
Yeah. No,
I am not old. I'm not. We joke about being old. We are both under the age of 30. We both vividly remember when summer blockbusters were summer blockbusters because they would leave the cinema around this time if it was like height of cinema. They'd come out at the beginning of June or July. They'd run till mid to late August. They'd get 6 to 8 weeks in the cinema. And then you would not be able to see it again until Christmas when it came out on DVD. So what you had was you had a bunch of people who've gone, oh, I've heard that's good after 2 or 3 weeks. And they'd be like, oh, well, we better go see it before it leaves the cinema because then we'll have to wait 6 months to see it.
Oh, yeah, there was time for... Well, the film stayed in the cinema long enough that there was time for word to spread about how good a film was. And then, like you say, because there was that, oh, if we don't see it in the cinema, we have to wait. People are talking about this now. I don't want to miss out, or like I want to be part of the conversation. So we best try and find time to go watch it.
Yeah.
That's
and
going.
The issue that we had was streaming services became a thing, and they started offering a fuck ton of money to be able to release a film. So as a result, they started bringing DVDs out sooner. And then because DVDs were coming out sooner, people were like, well, I want to be able to buy it digitally. And they're like, yeah, cool, we can appeal to that as well. That's not a problem. And then people are like, oh, but I still want it sooner. So like, okay, well, DVDs take a while to manufacture. We can put it online straight away. And that is not just hurting cinema as an industry, and meaning less films get made and worse films get made, but it's also hurting cinemas as in actual places you go to watch a film. Like, it's genuinely scary, and it sounds insane because cinema is like, of all forms of media, it's one of the easiest things to say to a co-worker or a friend, oh, have you seen that new so-and-so film?
Yeah.
Like, you can't really do that as much with TV. You can't do it as much with comic books or video games unless you know they're into them things. Whereas cinema in general was always so much bigger. If there was a big film coming out, you'd go, oh, have you seen that thing? And like, we got a bit of a... like, the only time I realised how big an issue this was literally this week, when a co-worker and IRL friend said to me, oh, I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. It was fucking awesome. He's like, I've not been to cinema in ages, but I had to go see it because I'd heard such good things, and it's amazing. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And then I realised, holy shit, we don't hear that anymore.
Well, like, let's be honest, the last time everyone I feel like en masse people talked about going to the cinema was Barbenheimer. Like, that was the last like huge thing where everyone was like, oh my god, you need to go see like Oppenheimer and Barbie, and we're going to do these cinema back-to-back things.
And do you remember what happened with Oppenheimer? What? Christopher Nolan shot that film around to a bunch of different studios because he has strict rules about how quickly it's allowed to go to certain platforms. And here's the thing. You can't expect the director of every film to be powerful enough to pull a Christopher Nolan.
Well, look at things like the MCU. They bring a director in to their franchise. They're not the ones with the ideas.
They don't get to make demands.
No. So
it's really rough out here. And then on the flip side, TV. Now, this is about the reason that we've thrown this into the mix is because of the Acolyte getting cancelled. Yeah,
though not 100% confirmed, but that is a very strong rumor now.
Yes. Now, let me be completely clear. The Acolyte cost too much money to make. It was incredibly expensive. I get that. I get that it didn't hit the viewership that they had decided was necessary for it. I get that. What I don't understand is how people can say, well, it didn't get the viewership, stop blaming people who are horrible about the show. If you go on Twitter and all you see is people being horrific about a show, you are not going to watch it. If you don't already have an opinion, and people who are angry shout the loudest. There's a funny thing. I can't remember what like the like theorem is called, but it basically boils down to if you need an answer about a difficult technical question, don't ask someone for help on the internet. Create a fake account asking for help, and then from your actual account, respond in the completely wrong way and wait for someone to correct you. Because people on the internet much love stepping on someone and proving they're right rather than helping someone. So if you enjoy something, you don't scream about it as much as if you hate something.
Yeah, no,
I'm not saying the negative on social media ruined the show or anything. I am saying it'd be insane to say it didn't have an effect.
Oh yeah. And like, here's the thing. It got decent viewership. To the ones who were like, oh look, it didn't get good viewers, it was all bots or whatever. No, I'm sure it got decent viewership. Maybe it didn't hit the target that they set. Do I think the story was weak in places? Yeah. Is some of Star Wars scripts weak in places? Yes.
What do you mean? I don't like sand.
People seem to forget I saw things of like, oh well, the Clone Wars that didn't get cancelled because it was and then people are like, are you forgetting that the Clone Wars animated was actually hated at first? The only reason it got made was because George was like, no, that I want this made. Star Wars fans used to hate Ahsoka. They're like, oh, who's this annoying person that's now been added in? Now Star Wars fans love Ahsoka. So my gripe with it is it's like, whatever your opinion of the story and how well it is, fine if you've got your valid reasons. Saying that the loud people on social media that were like, this is trash, this is what's wrong with Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. Disney will see that and will take into consideration that, because it's also the thing of, if you're someone who enjoyed it, you probably were like, oh, that's a good show. Didn't go anywhere shouting and raving about it. So then, if all the people that enjoyed it are just like quietly enjoying it and not necessarily going on social media being like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever, because fair enough, it wasn't like amazing. It had its amazing moments, but like, then you've got the people that hated it that are being loud. How are Disney going to hear the people that do enjoy it because they're not saying anything? My biggest annoyance is Disney, if they have in fact actually cancelled this, which it seems like they have, to me makes it hard for me to see how we are ever going to move away from the Skywalker story.
We can't. If they're going to crumble to angry person stamps feet, it's impossible.
Yeah, this is
actually concerning for Star Wars in general.
Oh, the Star Wars fans that had their issues with this, I hope they realize now that we are just going to get the same timeline just absolutely squeezed dry of any part of the story, and then you're going to be like, oh, we're just watching the same timeline all over again. It's like, yeah, well, you killed the only chances we ever had of something.
They are forcing us into a position of just getting these horrific CGI deepfake dummies forever. That's literally what they're pushing it towards.
What's going to happen?
Because what other choice do they have?
Yeah, we're just going to get like every side story possibly done.
Yeah, but they're not going to recast anyone because they'll get angry about that as well. So you're just going to get these horrible deepfake Mark Hamill's over doubles who could pass as Luke Skywalker anyway. It's genuinely concerning. But this isn't just about Star Wars. No. It's about TV in general. So last week or 2 weeks ago, I can't remember which, we spoke about how long TV shows should be.
Yes.
And actually, the cancellation of this show has proved my point. Because people have been going, how do you ever expect a TV show to survive if you don't give it time to breathe now? The amount of shows that had okay starts and then became all-timers is insane. My favourite example is, of course, Breaking Bad. If you've seen Breaking Bad and then either been referred Breaking Bad or referred it to someone else, you have heard the sentence, you just have to get through the first season, it's a little bit slow going, and then it goes nuts.
A bit like me, who watched the first season, really struggled, and then never went back and watched any more of it.
And when you say that, what's the response you get from people who've seen it? Oh, but once you get through the first season, man, it's so good. Because everyone knows the first season's a bit slow.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it.
Mm-hmm.
If we're just going to cancel shows that have a slow first season now, we're fucked. But also, if it had another 3 episodes and didn't have to rush so much, would it have got to breathe a little bit more? Would it have had more time to get a bit of attention because it wasn't done in 2.5 months? Well, no, it wasn't even that because it did 2-episode launch.
Yeah.
So 9 weeks, and you're trying to capture enough people. But there is also the genuine concern, and Disney Plus have already done this, of it becoming lost media.
Yeah.
So when Disney Plus launched in the UK in 2019 or whenever it was, they had a show called Willow, which was based on another one of their IPs that I don't know anything about. I must apologise. But they made a show based on this IP. It didn't do very well. They cancelled the show.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of all of the merch they were selling for the show, like they've done with the Acolyte today.
Oh.
And then they took Willow off of Disney Plus. It is now impossible to legally watch this show.
That worries me for what happens to Acolyte then.
And again, wider than Acolyte, how are we supposed to engage with media?
Yeah.
They say no one wants to watch TV or care about a story anymore. How are you going to let yourself get invested in a story if you know if the first season doesn't put up generational numbers, it's going to get canned anyway?
Yeah.
It's absurd.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about it this way. We've been doing this for 2 years. We've done 128 episodes. Yeah?
Yeah.
That, like, a lot of sitcoms who get to 100 episodes do specials for 100 episodes.
So do we.
We don't make any money for this. We don't make anything from this. In fact, all this has done is cost us money. We're having to keep up with different subscriptions and films and bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah? Are we cancelling this? No, like, fuck are we? Because we care about that one Dorothy who watches.
Wow.
Do you see what I mean?
No,
it's fucking insanity. Yeah. And here's the thing. They refuse to do anything that isn't a big IP. We know this is a problem because they can't rely on its sellability. And then they do something with a big IP, and then they crash and burn it anyway. Yep. What are we supposed to do? I say, everyone cancel all your subscriptions to everything other than Dropout. Give Dropout all of the money, and let them make originals. Because we can pressure them into not cancelling stuff if we really like it. Thoughts?
I mean, it's wild because obviously we talked about the other week about like how many episodes in the season, and that was a big issue, and that definitely was an issue with Acolyte. It's funny though because it's like I got caught up on House of Dragon, finished season 2 of that, and that was only 8 episodes, but each episode is at least an hour long, so like it doesn't feel as bad. That's now thinking of that is twice the amount of content we got from Acolyte. If Acolyte had hour-long episodes, you could have definitely made people feel more attached to the characters, developed the characters more. Maybe then people would have felt more of an attachment to the show and not been as harsh in places. But yeah, if Disney's just ducking out after a season, like...
And like, I said it was expensive to make.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't give a fuck that it was expensive to make because Disney recorded record profits last year.
Yeah.
So they had a massive dip because of COVID, because obviously they lost a lot of their theme park revenue and other stuff, and a lot of productions got delayed, which cost money. They are now back above and reaching record profits. They made 32 billion in profit. Do you know how much? Like, can you even fathom how much money that is? If I had 32 billion right now, I personally would greenlight another season of Acolyte.
This is the thing. They're making so much in profit. Like, they could very easily burn money for like 3 seasons, and this show does terribly.
And it wouldn't affect them.
No, it wouldn't cause an issue.
And guess what? If they burnt money on the show for 3 years, or even after this, like season 1 doing as well, they go, we're going to half your budget. 90 million is still enough to make a good season of TV, which it is, even if it is Star Wars, which requires stuff.
Yeah.
And you go, right, instead of 180 million a season, we're going to take you down to even 60 million a season, and you get 3 seasons at 60 million to prove that you're worth it. Guess what? In 4 years' time, the people who want to shout and scream will be bored of shouting and screaming about this show, and you'll have a dedicated fan base towards this show, and you'll realise it was a good investment. But now you're going to scrap it. I'm genuinely concerned it's going to get taken off the platform. Put it this way, Jenna doesn't really engage with Star Wars that much. It's not her thing. I asked her if she wanted to watch The Acolyte. She was like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, you don't need to know anything about Star Wars for this, because it is completely disconnected from everything else.
She understands,
like, okay, I'll give it a go then.
Lightsabers, and that's about it.
Yeah. She was like, okay, I'll give it a go then. Seeing as I don't need to do any homework. She fucking loved it. She fucking loved it.
Do you know what'll upset me about that?
It was literally an entry point for people.
We got one of the best Sith performances we've had in years, and it's going to get thrown away.
Manny
that character
deserved better.
Yeah, like that character is going to... And do you know what's going to happen? I actually genuinely believe, like what happened with the prequels, 10 years down the line, you're going to get a bunch of people that were the younger ones that finally speak up and go, that was like one of the best Sif performances ever, and you guys let it burn and get thrown away.
But are they going to get that? Or is it going to get taken off the streaming platform and people who aren't quite old enough yet don't even get a chance to discover it? Imagine if Clone Wars got canned. I would never have, like, forgetting all the people, but like, I didn't watch it until it was all already out, and then I went back and watched it.
Here's the thing. The true Star Wars fans, because that shit exists on the wiki now, like that, well, like the memory of it will not get erased. Will you be able to go watch it? Unfortunately, probably not. But then people will be like, oh my god, there was this really cool Sith character and you guys let it get canned.
I am semi-confident there will be some absolute hero of media preservation out there right now, currently illegally pirating all of it so that it's safe somewhere away from Disney's prying eyes. But that's no way we should have to live in the modern era. Stop deleting art, because it is. Even if it's not high art or impactful art, it's still art. It should be preserved. It's craziness.
Can you imagine if like paintings from years ago, if like someone acquired it and they were like, oh, no one's coming to look at this anymore, burn.
Yeah, like, it's fucking insanity. Another thing that made me realise just how much trouble TV's in. Netflix started this problem, although they aren't the cause of the problem, of just like Netflix has like a famous reputation of greenlighting a bunch of shows and then canning 90% of them after one season, no matter how well they did.
Yep.
And that did start the problem. It started the normalization of a show getting cancelled for no reason. But also, at least Netflix made good length seasons. It's crazy to me that watching a 13-episode Jessica Jones Daredevil season feels long now, because it was 13 one-hour episodes. I'm like, oh, there's still a lot to go here. That's nice. Because I've been beaten down by Disney Plus into thinking 6, 8, 10 episodes is acceptable, and it's fucking not. I'm sick of it. What are we supposed to do here? They want to keep making money in film and TV. They want to compete with the amount of money video games make. And they're just canning stuff. No one's going to fall in love with a character and watch 8 seasons of your show if you cancel 90% of shows after half a season of actual TV.
It's... I mean, look at, like we talked earlier, Rings of Power is coming out next week. That got very mixed responses, and there was a lot of people after season 1 were like, this is the worst thing for Lord of the Rings. If this had been on Disney, that would have been cancelled, probably already deleted off their platform by now.
Yeah.
And it's like... What?
I understand that they're a business, and they've looked at the price tag of Acolyte being 180 million for the 8 episodes, 9 episodes, whatever it was, and they've gone, that's too much. That is completely fair. Guess what? That is your budgeting problem, and not spending money in the right place to work out how to be efficient with your money.
Yeah.
We've seen horror films forever, and still to this day, working on budgets of less than 10 million with practical effects that look phenomenal. There is no excuse. It is laziness.
Yeah. Disney is definitely like a big issue in this. The wildest thing to say, which out of everyone that this has to be, Amazon Prime is actually the least problem. They are the only one that doesn't seem to be as much of a problem child at the moment, and are actually pushing animated stuff, IPs that haven't been like had their chance to shine in a long time, coming up with new shows and stuff, and they're not canning anything instantly.
Yeah.
Which is just wild that they're the one.
And that sucks, because they're a terrible organisation that I'd love to see burned down, but they're the one who
you only get to pick on one.
Yeah. I can't. I am, as a single individual, I'm not enough to tear down a company. No. So while no one else is engaged in doing it, I'm not going to shout at the moon until I go blue in the face trying to get it done. I will just try and get through this horrific existence by enjoying things I enjoy, no matter where they come from. As long as it's somewhat ethical. But, like, what is going on here? I don't want to be rich. I've said this. I want to be well off enough to, like, not have to worry. But if I'm ever a billionaire, shoot me dead, because I've turned my back on who I am. And right now, I find myself wanting to be a billionaire just to protect TV.
Here's the
Do you
thing.
know how insane that is?
My only thing now is like, I would actually work to become a billionaire to build up enough cash so I can buy the Star Wars IP, and then I don't need to be a billionaire anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'll build up that money to spend on saving Star Wars, and then I'll go back to being like just an average person.
I completely agree. It's terrible. So what can we do to fight back? If you like stuff, make fucking noise.
Yeah.
If you actually like something, you've got to be as loud as the people who dislike it now.
And if you're and another like the people that are being loud about disliking it, but they aren't actually giving solid reasons, people need to call them out better and be like, okay, so give us a solid reason why you dislike it. Oh, it's just Disney Star Wars. That's not a solid reason. Shut up.
Yeah. Ask yourself why if this person has any financial reason to feel that way. There are and I'm not going to say his fucking name, so I want him to burn in hell. But if there's a particular person who makes money off their YouTube channel from spouting horrible opinions, ask yourself: are they financially motivated for that opinion? Maybe that's not a trustworthy opinion. That's why you can trust our opinions. We don't make fuck all from this. We have nothing to gain by lying and saying we hate something or lying and saying we like something. We'll be honest with you.
It's tough. Like, obviously, people are like, oh, we'll cancel your Disney thing plus subscriptions and whatnot. And it's like, unless you get a mass movement for that, unfortunately, it will always be a drop in the water and they won't notice. I think it's easier to be loud on social media and stuff about if a show gets cancelled, that you're not happy, or it's tough. It's in an ideal world, we get a new Disney CEO who actually does give a shit. And isn't all about making profit or trying to sell to Apple. Because unfortunately, the sad thing is, as much as I joke about buying the Star Wars IP if I had the money, Disney will never sell that IP.
Put too much.
Like, they've put too much time into like the Star Wars galaxies at Disney World and stuff. Like, unfortunately, there are people in charge of the Star Wars side, Kathleen, whatever her name is,
Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, who needs to get gone. And there's people at the top of Disney that also need to get gone and let it be a place for creatives again.
And if I see one more person try and claim they should have never made Star Wars political, I'm going to headbutt you. Star Wars is inherently political. War is inherently political.
Yep.
What are we talking about?
Let's just be honest. Life is political. There is no escaping politics. It is everywhere.
Yes. It's fine to go, I disagree with the politics of Star Wars, but guess what? You might just be outing yourself as a fascist.
Be careful which side you choose in Star Wars.
Yeah. It's insanity that this has to be said. Learn to understand what media is conveying for the love of God.